What's up everybody, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here, and welcome back again to my YouTube channel, bringing you guys another video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. In this video, we're going to be talking about the next LD and Burst character that's going to be going live soon to Global Opera Omnia, which is going to be featuring everyone's, or at least almost everyone's favorite poster boy from Final Fantasy VII, Cloud. Cloud is also going to be getting a rework on top of getting his LD and Burst weapon, so we're going to be taking a look at that as well, and we're also going to touch up on the banners that are going to be featured with the debut of these brand new weapons. But before we move forward, first of all, I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday Christmas celebration. I know it was a little different this year because of, well, 2020 being 2020 the way that it is, but I trust that you guys had a safe celebration. You guys hopefully got to see your family and friends and things like that. I know I had a good time. And also, if you guys are brand new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. That way you guys are not missing out on future uploads. And also, if you guys enjoy what you see on this channel, be sure to hit that like button and share this video, as it does help me out. Also, thanks again to those wonderful resources out there for Dissidia Opera Omnia. We got the Dissidia DB, Dissidia Info, the OO Tracker, the FFOO Tip, the Tonberry Troop, the TCC Podcast, and last but not least, all of the rest of the other DFFOO content creators, streamers, those of you that create those spreadsheets, guides, and visuals to just make this community and also make the experience for this game that much better. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about Cloud's debut for his LD and Burst weapons, as well as his rework. Alright guys, so we are going to go ahead and talk about Cloud, because he is getting his LD and Burst weapons on Global Opera Omnia very soon, and we're also going to touch up with what his rework does, and then we're going to take a look at the banners that are going to be featured for this particular event. Now, for those of you that are unfamiliar with Cloud, he is a powerful damage dealer that also brings a ton of utility, because not only does he deal damage, he could disrupt enemies' turns by paralyzing them with his skill 1. He could automatically launch with his skill 2, which is really good, because launch damage is essentially additional damage that you'll deal depending on how you set up the launch, so very good for that. And then afterwards, if you happen to have his World of Illusions 15 CP weapon passive, which I highly recommend you guys try to get that if you guys have the red weapon tokens, it allows him to dispel an enemy buff with his skills if he's dealing critical damage with them. So he's a very well-rounded kind of like plug-and-play unit that just brings a lot to the table. So we're going to be taking a look at what his rework does first, and then afterwards we're going to go into his LD and Burst. And I am bringing this party comp for a very specific reason, because I will be touching up on some like really popular future comps that Cloud is used for later down the line, especially when he has access to his LD and Burst weapon. So with Kurosame, because we're going first with Kurosame, let's just go ahead and do his LD. Alright. And then with Kais, I'm actually going to go ahead and use his LD, which we don't have yet on Global, but this is actually really powerful and part of this really powerful setup. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and go into Cloud. So Cloud's skill 1 and skill 2 get some really powerful upgrades. So first of all, both skills have multiple Brave and HP dumps. Cross Slash, along with its plus variant, has 3 Brave plus HP attacks, and then afterwards Finishing Touch has 5 Brave plus HP attacks. So he's dealing multiple HP dumps, which is really good because he's really going to be piling on the damage now. Now remember, both of these skills will be Brave battering him before he actually does the Brave hit, so he'll actually be able to be self-sufficient before he deals the damage. He also deals additional, critical damage, with both of these skills, which is really strong. But the biggest upgrades is going to be those multiple brave hits, and then also another upgrade that both of these skills get is it's going to convert 20% of the HP damage he deals before the last HP dump. So let's say, for example, Finishing Touch has 5 Brave plus HP attacks. After the 4th one, it's going to convert 20% of that total HP damage, add it to his Brave, and then he deals the final HP hit. So that's pretty significant damage there. And then to top it off, his Finishing Touch, in regards to that, it will auto-launch the target, which is really good. And then it's also going to be dealing 20% splash damage to the non-targeted enemy on the last HP hit. And then after he initiates that launch, on the next turn, the target that was not targeted with Finishing Touch will automatically be launchable. So that's very powerful that they added that into both of his skill 1 and skill 2. So just for the purposes of the video, let's go ahead and take a look at his skill 1 with the rework. As you can see, we get 3 HP dumps, which is really strong. Okay, and then over here with Kurosame, let's just go ahead and use his skill 2. Alright. Very good. Okay, so with Kais, what we're going to go ahead and do now is use his skill 2. And then when we get back to Cloud, we'll go ahead and take a look at his Finishing Touch. Okay, so Finishing Touch is going to happen. Now, obviously, we have the effect from Kais, but I at least wanted to get that out of the way. But we're going to go ahead and use Finishing Touch here. There we go, and as you can see, that's 5 Brave plus HP attacks, with the last HP attack being much more powerful because he converts 20% of the HP damage he dealt with the first 4 attacks and adds it to his Brave, which is really strong. Then afterwards, we get another launch here, which is really good. So Cloud has some really strong setups with just the rework alone. But now we're going to go ahead and take a look at his LD and burst. So we're going to just reapply Kurosame's LD effect here because I want that 30% additional HP damage, because when we get into the burst and all that good stuff, I want you guys to see just how much damage it deals. Now, as far as his EX ability goes, nothing changes with that. The cool thing about his EX is that if you have it fully realized, you do start off with 6 turns of Mako, which gives him that Brave regen that he gets every time he takes his turn, and it also, I believe it increases his max Brave. So that's something nice to have. Usually, because this charges up so quickly, you could go into it for additional damage because it does do AoE damage and does 2 HP dumps, but I tend to use it nowadays to refresh his Mako buff if I notice that it's going to be running out. But remember, this is also an option if you want Cloud to be dishing out some good damage and also being able to refresh his Mako buff. But we're going to go ahead and go into his LD. So first of all, if you have his LD weapon fully max limit broken, he gets 4 uses of his Blade Beam ability, his iconic, one of his iconic limit breaks. Okay, now after you fully limit break it, you're also going to be increasing Cloud's attack permanently by 150%. So that's a pretty significant increase to his attack. He's also going to have access to his Brave Attack plus, and he's also going to have access to his HP Attack plus. Now both of these are just going to be better versions of those commands. Brave Attack plus is 4 hits. It also increases the amount of critical Brave damage he deals with it. And then same thing with his HP Attack plus. This time it's 3 hits plus the HP attack. It does have that increased crit damage, and it also has a 150% Brave overflow. So that's pretty good just coming off of the effects from his LD passive fully limit broken. Now, talking about his LD, Blade Beam is going to be dealing an AoE ranged Brave attack, and then afterwards it's going to be dealing a single target HP attack with a 50% HP splash damage. On top of that, if there's only one target or a single target, you'll be dealing additional Brave damage, and he also has a 180% Brave overflow. Now, the 2 most powerful effects that he gets out of this is, if you fully max limit break this, he's going to be delaying enemies, all enemies that he hits with it, by 2 turns. And then on his very next turn, he's going to get a free skill usage for either his C65, his skill 1, or his skill 2. That's pretty significant. Now, he doesn't get any brand new buffs with the introduction of his LD weapon, not until later on when he gets his LD extension boards, but that's later on. But just the free skill ability alone, and then the 2-turn delay just adds so much more to his kit. So let's go ahead and take a look at Blade Beam. Alright, And as you can see, we did some damage. It's AoE, single target with a 50% splash, and it delayed by 2 turns. So overall, very, very powerful effect. Now with Kaist, let's just go ahead and use his skill 1 here. Okay, with Kurosame, we're going to go ahead and use his EX. Okay, so now we've seen Cloud's LD ability and effects. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at his burst now. And as you could see, we do have a free skill usage. So we can either go into a free C65, a free finishing touch, or a free cross slash. Generally, you're going to want to use the free finishing touch because it is a launch. It is 5 Brave plus HP attacks. And then also remember, if there's multiple targets, whichever target that was not targeted will be automatically launchable on the next turn. Now, as far as his burst goes, so I actually want to go into the burst when I have the free skill usage available, because the whole purpose for Cloud's burst is not only the powerful burst effect that you get out of it, which we will get into that, but because you're going to be setting up so many launches with a specific team comp. And this is the value that I find in actually having Cloud's burst. Like, you'll be able to deal so much damage with these particular setups, such as having like Kais and having like Kurosame, and then later on we'll be having access to Jack's LD, which increases the amount of brave damage that an enemy takes, and it's up to 30%. So if you pair that with like Kurosame's 30% HP damage up plus Jack's 30% brave damage up, that's an insane amount of damage. So let's actually apply that LD effect from his call, and then we're gonna go right into the burst so you guys get to see the amount of damage that it does. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and burst now. Now remember, I like using the burst when you have access to the free skill usage, because this is generally the order that you want to use his available skills during the burst. So you're going to go into the free finishing touch, and you're going to see it's a pretty gnarly amount of damage that you deal, especially with a Pandemonium summon. And it's a lot more when Cloud gets his LD extension boards later, but I did take them off because we're not going to be getting that right away on Global. So after that, you're going to go into his Blade Beam, because we want another free skill usage of that finishing touch. And look at that, we get another launch. Okay, so the damage just really, really piles up. All right, so then after that, we're going to go ahead and go back into finishing touch because we have another free skill usage off of that. Very good. Okay, and then afterwards, we're going to go into the EX. If there's one enemy, actually, I could have gone for the cross slash because we get 3 HP dumps, but I'll just go with the EX. Why not? We want to see Meteor Rain. It looks pretty cool. Okay. And then afterwards, you're going to go back into finishing touch. And remember, if there was another target left there, next turn, after the burst effect ends, that other target can be launchable. Okay, so now we're going to go into the burst. So before we go into the burst, I will let you guys know what it is. It is his Omni Slash version 5, which is that really cool version of Omni Slash he uses in Advent Children. He's going to be dishing out 12 Brave plus HP attacks, and then this one will convert 50% of the total HP damage he deals to his Brave before the last HP attack, and then afterwards he deals 20% total HP damage to non-targets on that last HP attack. So pretty much, you know, similar functionalities from like the Rework skill 1 and skill 2, where he recovers, he adds that Brave based on 50, you know, the percentage of the total HP damage dealt before the HP attack. And then to top it off, he also gets the standard, you know, burst effects, which is the maximum Brave damage limit of 150%, and then the obtainable Brave and HP damage limit is going to be increased for him by 50%. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, and then we'll talk about the burst effect. And look at the total amount of damage. And remember, this is without the LD extension boards. So we did close to 3 million damage there, which is insane. which is why you could see why having the burst and LD for Cloud, especially with a setup like this, is just super insane and super powerful, because you really abuse the mechanics of the launch and the free skill usage and things like that. So very, very good. Now the burst effect for Cloud only lasts for 4 turns, but what it does is it increases the party's brave damage dealt by 50%. It also increases the party's critical brave damage dealt by an additional 50%, and then it also increases the party's brave damage limit by 20%, and also gives them an additional 30% extra brave overflow. So the burst effect itself is actually pretty strong, especially that added brave damage dealt by 50%. And because Cloud is not necessarily a fast character, a character such as, for example, Lightning, who's a very oppressive damage dealer right now in Global, could really take advantage of this burst effect, because Lightning will benefit from the increased brave damage by 50% and the critical brave damage, and just you can have a field day by having Cloud's burst effect on, and then having like a powerful damage dealer such as Lightning kind of like take advantage of it with the constant turns that Lightning takes. So overall, I feel Cloud's both of his LD and burst weapons for me are worth the pickup. Now, I do understand that his gear does come back with a banner that also features Lightning and Squall, and that's when Cloud will get his LD extension boards, which makes him even better. But if you are looking to pick it up when it does come out, I do highly recommend it, because later on when you're setting up this specific team comp where if an enemy does not have any kind of immunity to delay or launching, you could really abuse the amount of damage that you deal during the burst phase with all the launches that you do with the delay, and just racking up all that damage from Cloud's different skills. So definitely worth a pickup in my personal opinion. Now the banners that are going to be coming out for Cloud's LD and burst, the first one is going to have Celeste, Waka, and Yuri featured on it. All 3 characters right now are pretty decent. I would say the best one of the 3 is, for me, it's a toss-up between Waka and Yuri. Celeste will get better later on when she gets her LD and rework, but right now she's still a very situational tank. And then afterwards, the other banner is going to be featuring Cloud's EX weapon on there as well, and then it's going to be bringing back Setzer and Rem. Rem is still a pretty good unit, very underrated because of her turn swap and her healing. And then Setzer right now, he does have a pretty powerful debuff and he does have delay, but he's definitely starting to show some age. So both banners are overall pretty decent, but if you are looking to get at least Cloud's LD weapon on it, I think the banner that I would go for personally is the one with Yuri and Waka, because both of them still have some pretty decent usage for current content, if you decide to build a party around them. But overall, very, very solid weapons. Now, if you guys are looking to get the burst weapon, my personal recommendation is probably trying to get it on, I want to say, Beatrix's banner, because Beatrix also becomes a very powerful dispeller as well. You could also get it on Zandy's banner. Zandy is pretty good too if you're looking for another Imperil enchant, but I personally recommend it on Beatrix's Lost Chapters banner, but it's entirely up to you. But again, to finish things off, Cloud is fantastic. I think that his LD weapon brings a lot of power to his kit. He's now also going to be delaying, and then that burst phase, definitely worth it in my opinion if you guys really want to abuse the launch mechanic, because you'll deal so much damage. And if you're up against a very difficult Lufenia fight, which there will be several that have no immunities to delay or launch, you could really have a field day with the party setup that I just showed you. And this is not the only party setup that you can do that with. You could take characters later down the line, such as like Dark Knight Cecil, have like the Ramza call and the Ramza friend unit. You can just look these up on YouTube, but this is going to be a very powerful composition as long as you have access to both Cloud's LD and burst weapons. Alright guys, this is going to conclude my video. Thank you guys again for watching. This is 40 the Broadway Saiyan signing out. Mahal everyone.